Heli Direct!
Hello everyone, my name is Mikhail Graham and I'm here representing Heli Direct, and today we're going to be talking about the XL Power Spectre V2 Kenny Co World Champion Edition. Now, you may notice that this isn't the color scheme of the World Champion Edition. The World Champion Edition has a red and yellow canopy with a red or yellow tailbone, depending on your choice. I prefer the enemy scheme, and so that's what I went with, and I added the white tailbone. But what's important, of course, is what's underneath. So what we're going to do today in this video is that I'm going to highlight the differences between the World Champion Edition and the regular Nick Maxwell Edition. So with that said, let's get started. So as I mentioned before, the World Champion Edition comes with this fire orange and yellow canopy. And although I prefer the NME canopy, I thought it'd be a good idea to point out some differences between the two because there are some differences. The first difference that you'll notice is that the upper canopy mounts have this flat spot. So this will definitely make the canopy fit a little bit better on the frame. The next difference that you'll see I have mounted on my NME canopy is that it comes with these quick release canopy mounts. These are really, really nice. The old grommets would get worn out very quickly. So this is a very, very nice addition. Another big difference that you'll probably never see in the pictures is the World Champion Edition is much stiffer. And the reason being is that they've added a layer, it looks like to be a layer of foam underneath. This makes the canopy much stiffer. Like if I squeeze the canopy, like I'm barely any give compared to squeezing the same spot in the NME. So much stiffer canopy than the NME edition, and picking them both up, it feels like the World Champion Edition is a little bit heavier, but not much. But all in all, this canopy with this extra layer is much, much stiffer, which is really, really nice. The other final change between the two that I really like, the magnets on the World Champion are much stronger than the original NME. So these stronger magnets are much nicer. The canopy is much stiffer. They're using this foam, stiffer fiberglass. It's actually a really nice canopy. I just wish it was in the NME scheme. But with that said, let's move on to the actual frame of the helicopter. The World Champion Edition comes with white skid pipes, whereas the NME came with black skid pipes, and it comes with a colored tailbone. Not this color, but a colored tailbone of your choice. I believe fire orange or yellow. Now let's come over to the rotor head here. What you'll see here is that there's a hole in the top that was not in the rotor head of the NME edition. They changed the process of machining the rotor block so that it is perfectly true on the main shaft. So when you build your head up, it is perfectly straight and centered on your main shaft every time. The other change they made is to the swash plate. Whereas the NME used longer balls on the inner swash to get the 1-to-1 ratio in the head, they actually extended out the inner swash plate so that you can use the same balls all around. This is a really nice addition because the longer balls are more likely to snap off in a crash, leaving you with thread stuck in the swash plate and making it very difficult to replace. This is a very nice addition. The new tail hub has a little bit of material removed, making it a little bit lighter. It looks very, very elegant. I really, really like it. But of course, the star back here is the new tail design. So as you can see, the tail pitch slider is much wider, completely new design. And the tail rotor hub and grips has its own spindle system that is supported by bearings on both sides and its own set of dampers inside. So these rotor grips are floating on their own spindle and their own dampening system. And because of the pitch slider and where the control inputs come in, the tail rotor actually has a bit of delta. So I'm really excited to try this new design out and see how it impacts performance, because this is a radically new design from what's usually out there. So I'm excited to see how this does. All right, guys, I saved the best for last, and this is by far my favorite feature of the World Champion Edition that separates it from the NME and several others and truly puts it a cut above the rest. What that feature is that all of your major mechanical components are tied together by both carbon fiber and aluminum. Now, in a lot of helicopters, for example, you'll have your aileron servos tied to your bearing blocks via carbon fiber and aluminum, but then you'll have your pitch servo that's just mounted to the carbon fiber frame. Now, this is okay. We've been flying like this for years. It's not a problem, but because of the difference of materials and perhaps how the helicopter is designed, you might get a little bit flex on the really intense high G maneuvers. The World Champion Edition does away with all of that by tying literally everything together. Let me show you what I mean here. So if you zoom in on these two screws right here, so those two screws actually tie the motor mount to the lower bearing block. Now, this wasn't present on the NME. The NME had the motor mount tied to the carbon fiber frame and these aluminum stringers. Now, we still have these stringers, but now we have this mount of the lower bearing block directly to the motor mount. Now, this adds another level of rigidity, making sure you don't get any flex between the motor and the main gears. Moving over a little bit, of course, we have our servos. Our servos are mounted to the upper and lower bearing blocks. And of course, the upper and lower bearing blocks are integrated with each other because it's a single piece. Now, moving back, this is where things get a little bit even more interesting. We have the rudder servo and the elevator servo on mounting to this aluminum piece, which ties again to the upper bearing block. This piece was not present on the NME, and these servos only tied into the carbon fiber frames. Now, on the bottom of that, there's another plate that I can't show that attaches to the lower bearing block and attaches to the lower mount of the rudder servo and the elevator servo and extends to the aluminum and carbon fiber mount of the tail boom itself. Again, this was not present on the NME. So the NME had the tail boom mounts and your servos, and that was supported primarily with just carbon fiber up here. And again, works fine, no problem, but this adds another level of rigidity because now you're mounting your rudder servo, your elevator servo, and the tail boom mount itself directly to the bearing blocks, in addition to the carbon fiber stiffness. And to tie it all together, we have a carbon fiber plate that goes from back to front that ties the tail boom mounts to the lowest bearing blocks to the pinion support all the way to the front of the helicopter. What this means is that you have a very, very rigid helicopter. Everything is tied together. Wherever the motor moves, everything else is going to move. So this creates a super rigid machine that is not likely to have any flex in the hardest of maneuvers, while at the same time still being a very, very light frame. So all in all, we have a rotor head that is perfectly centered and tail rotor with new design. And we have a fully, I would like to just call this a fully integrated frame where all of your mechanical components are fully integrated with each other, creating a super stiff, super accurate, super precise helicopter. This helicopter is definitely worthy of being called a World Champion Edition. I am truly impressed and I'm looking forward to flying it. One more feature that I forgot to mention previously is that the main gear no longer has any holes in it. There's no, it's been filled in. What this does is that it makes the main gear a lot stiffer and a lot stronger. So all in all, this was a quick overview of the new XL Power Spectre V2 KidneyCo World Champion Edition. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I am really excited about this helicopter. I am excited to see how this new tail design performs, and I'm really super stoked to see how this, what I like to call fully integrated frame, feels like in the air. I've never seen anything like this. I expect super precise control, super rigid performance. I am genuinely impressed and excited to fly this helicopter. So thanks for watching, and of course visit HeliDirect for all of your helicopter needs, and definitely check out the new World Champion Edition. Thanks for watching, guys.